time as usual. The first thing I want to start out with, and first off, I'm Ginny Gleason, and Javon, give a wave. Um, we we really want to thank you for being a part of Parent Leadership Team this year. I know it looked different. I know that you had to be patient with us sometimes, and we asked a lot for your feedback, and you provided it, and we just can't say enough about how much we appreciate your participation. And we know you did the best you could to um, share the information with your fellow parents, knowing how hard that is since we're all distancing from one another. So we just thank you sincerely, and we can't wait for next year. We're still not quite sure what it's going to look like, but we will continue with the Parent Leadership Team next year, and we really hope you will be joining us again. So I think we're going to move on to our agenda. And this is just our agenda for today. Obviously, we're welcoming you. We're going to talk about internet safety for parents. And we believe you don't know what you don't know. And it's going to be a tough conversation, but it's an important one. And then we have another important presentation, which is about identifying human trafficking. Um, I know you've heard about that, but sometimes it's so easy for us to sort of say, not me, it won't affect my child, but we are a community and we need to come together and we need to be informed about these important topics. And then we're going to talk about sources of strength with Janine Knight, because we really want you to know the great work that Janine is doing in our schools, in our high schools and our middle schools around sources of strength. And then we're going to talk about the parent survey, which we credit you with so much. We so appreciate you guys taking the survey and spreading the word. And then Javon has something great to sort of end the school year with your teachers. Really love that piece. And then finally, we're going to end with our superintendent, Dr. Mullins. Will give you that final send off. So that's our agenda. And before we get started, I want to tell you, if you have children at home, I know some of you have some e-learners at home with you. We feel very strongly that especially the first two presentations are really not appropriate for your children to see at this point. And we are sharing a video in our first presentation about internet safety that does have some language and some suggestive material in it, but we're adults. So that's why I'm comfortable sharing it with you, but I want to kind of warn you about it. We are not trying to offend. We are trying to educate. So we just want to make you aware of that. And if at any point you feel uncomfortable, you know, you can step away. So, and we honor that. So Javon, is there anything else I'm missing? Yeah, this. Thanks again for sticking with us. We truly appreciate it. And so without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Roy Funes. He is a prevention specialist with Eckerd Connects, and he works at one of our schools here in Brevard. We call it the North Alternative Learning Center, and he is an amazing asset to that school and an asset to us for sharing this information. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Roy.
Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Just so you guys know a little bit about me. I actually moved from Virginia. I've been in the mental health prevention field for going on about 8 years now. And I've always worked with middle school to high school kids. And just so you guys know, I know this topic can be a little scary just because the unknown is always scary. But that's why we do these videos and why we do these presentations, just so you kind of get an insight of what these kids go through on a daily basis, but also to kind of make you think, like, let me put myself in their shoes, because it is a different time and it is a different world that they live in from 20 years ago. So we'll do the video first, and then afterward, I'll kind of do some speaking points and then go into it.
never thought I would be chasing child predators. It was 2 years ago when our team intercepted conversations between a 12-year-old girl and a 40-year-old pedophile. He wasn't just talking to her, he was abusing her, coercing her, collecting images and videos, and no one in her life, her parents, sixth grade teacher, or friends, knew what was happening. I have a sixth grader of my own. I have 3 kids, actually, but you don't have to be a parent to be devastated by this. I work for a tech company that uses artificial intelligence to detect issues like grooming and sexual predation, and this is something we see constantly. These abuses are occurring quietly and mostly go unreported, and we want parents to know exactly what we know about what happens online. So we made a plan.
A man has been arrested for allegedly raping a 15-year-old that he met over Snapchat.
Instagram has become the #1 social media
is at the top of the free download.
We've also seen firsthand the predatory symbiotic relationship that exists between Instagram and Snapchat.
We would create a fictitious 15-year-old girl, complete with a believable social media identity, put her online, and document how long it would take for a predator to approach her. But creating a person out of thin air is complicated. We needed photos, but we knew we couldn't use an actual teenager. It would have to be someone on our team. I'm 37, but our graphic designers assured me that with the wonders of photo manipulation, they could magically make me look over 2 decades younger. We bought clothes and accessories, studied body language and facial expressions. We methodically covered and edited signs of aging, wrinkles, weight shifts, and stretch marks. Meanwhile, we coordinated with federal, state, and local law enforcement. Then we built a story around her, a history, a family, a social circle. Libby was born in 2004 and is a sophomore who recently moved to Indiana. We created multiple online accounts for Libby, prominently displayed her age, and posted typical teen content. We even created virtual friends for Libby who would comment on her posts. With everything in place, we would launch the project, give it a few months, and see if anyone would buy it. So we hit the button, and Libby went live. Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92. The conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats. The onslaught was so massive, it took 5 of us playing Libby full-time to keep up. We decided to move off-site where we could scale up the operation and gather as much information and evidence as possible. Since Libby is 15, men might try to falsely justify their actions towards her because of her proximity to adulthood. Would parents question, where's the bar? Would a 13-year-old face the same barrage of predators? A 12-year-old? How young could it possibly go? The graphics team transformed me into 11-year-old Bailey. Bailey is afraid of the dark. She hasn't had her first crush yet. She's still prepubescent. A parent might assume Bailey would be insulated from any sort of predatory attack. We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
444 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So
let's say
1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although sorry, 2 more requests just came in. How much time? 1 minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah.
How
old are you? You go to the profile, you know that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up, like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
Few parents know just how dangerous these platforms are for so many kids. so we brought some on site so they could see for themselves. 11-year-old Bailey's persona was approached with an even more disturbing level of manipulation and requests. While the majority of the abuse happened from a distance, our child profiles also received requests to meet up in person, especially our 15-year-old persona. 28-year-old Keith was relentless. Like the others, he took no issue with Libby's age. He shared explicit videos of himself. He treated the virginity of an underage girl as a prize to be stolen. It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him. We synced up with our law enforcement contacts, and within 24 hours, we were on the ground and ready to meet. We already had evidence of what he had done online, but was he willing to carry things out in real life? We knew 37-year-old me attempting to pass for 15-year-old Libby would be a challenge. But I would wear a hat, a lot of makeup, and a big sweatshirt, and see if he showed up.
To meet you too. Hey.
How you doing?
Good.
Okay. Is it what you expected?
Well, yeah.
So you going upstairs?
Wait, so do you want to go for a walk first?
Okay. What's wrong? Why you're not trying to rush upstairs?
What was that?
Why you're not trying to rush upstairs?
I don't know. I'm a little nervous.
Now let's go upstairs then. Don't be nervous.
I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's the first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm not gonna rush you. We just go upstairs and talk.
Okay. Have you ever?
You wouldn't be shy.
Are you okay with me being 15?
I've never done it.
Oh.
But it's okay. I like to gentle, make you comfortable. I don't want to just get all the feeling and just, you know what I'm saying?
Are you hungry?
Stop trying to dodge it. Let's go upstairs.
Cyber tips coming in from the National Center for Missing and Exploited.
BARC turns over these potential child predators to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Using the app has led to arrests like this one in Florida last year.
The brutal reality is that a predator doesn't have to be in the same room, building, or even country to abuse a child. Libby and Bailey may not be real, but they represent countless children who are being sexually and psychologically abused, both online and in real life. I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it, secretly and quietly.
Hi, Mama.
Hi, did you have a good day?
Yeah. Mama?
Yeah.
I was wondering, so in 2 more days you're gonna come back?
That's right.
Okay. I love you.
I love you too.
Our work has led to numerous arrests, but it's a drop in the bucket. Our work, nor the work of law enforcement or legislation, will ever be able to protect children as well as engaged parents and guardians can. When asked, my advice for parents is to talk to your kids early and often, know what apps they're using and with whom they're communicating. When facing crisis, kids need a soft place to land. Make sure they know they can come to you for help.
All right, everyone. I know that's a really hard video to watch, but this is why we do this, is just to educate everyone and try to get the word out, but also educate yourself and understand that, you know, what you thought was, you know, even possible before, it's even worse with the internet. But you have to educate yourself, but also kind of put yourself in their shoes. We're going to take a deep dive with this video, but also some more kind of resources and things that you can do as parents on April 27th. I'm going to speak more about it. But just so you guys know, it is a hard topic to talk about, but it also is going to change the way you kind of see the perspective coming from a child and what they're going through as of now. And I'll give you a quick example. Even dating now for teenagers, back, 20, 30, 40 years ago, there would always be a barrier. There would always be a phone call that you would have to make to the person and say, hi, can I speak to so-and-so? And the parent can be like, no, absolutely not. Or they can scare you and say, no, I have a gun in my house, or whatever it was, right? They had a barrier. But now with social media and the apps and everything like that, that barrier is gone. So sometimes, parents don't even know it's happening, don't even know what's going on. But when it comes down to it, the kids just want to be liked, just people in general, they want to be liked. So if they get attention from someone online, offline, at home, at sports, people like to be liked. So it's just a different dynamic, but we also have to educate on what works and what doesn't work. I've had a lot of parents where they text their kids and that's all they do. They're in the same house, they're downstairs, but they won't have conversations with them, but it'll be all through text. And that's kind of some of the things that we don't really pay attention to just because we live in this technology world, where that can really affect, or you can make or break a relationship, especially at a very young age when it comes to being 13 or 14. As always, it's always been about your peers and friends, and they've always, at that age, you want to be liked. But we'll go into trends and different apps that you guys should be looking for, but also resources for the parents that would be paid resources or different apps and things that you can install into your phone. That way you can monitor, some of the stuff that I'm going to kind of bring forth is actually from that BART company who made this video, which is an app that you kind of buy, and it's like a monthly service, but it checks everything on their phone. But also I wanted to share with you that on April 27th, we're also going to talk about kind of where social media is when it comes to the sexualization of young children, but also how kids feel validated and also can see everything. So it's always a competition. Back 20, 30 years from now, think about the celebrities that were popular. You could never go into their home. You could never see their houses. You could never see the things that they talk about. But now you can do that automatically, instantly. You can try to compare your life with their life on a daily basis. Now think about how many hours of the day some of these teens are looking and scrolling and comparing themselves. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, but you also have to realize that is the life that they're living, and that's not going to go away. So let's talk to our teens. Let's explain to them how we can better ourselves, but also understand that we don't need anyone talking to a 50-year-old man that's 12 years old. That's basically what it comes down to. So this is just kind of a preview. So please tune in on the 27th, where we take a deeper dive into this. And please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or anything like that. Anything else, Jeannie, that you want me to talk about?
Well, I think digesting that video, obviously I've seen it before, and it's very emotional. It's very emotional to me, and I'm sure it's impacted a lot of our families who are parents who are on this call right now. I want you to know we're not trying to shock you. We're trying to inform you and create awareness. That is what we're doing. And so we have a question: how do we contact you? Is it okay if I share your email address?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I will do that. I will definitely do that. So we really are encouraging you to come to this. We're going to spend an hour talking about internet safety. And so we really want you to participate in this opportunity on the 22nd. So we really hope you'll be able to do that. And let me see if I have another comment. Will that flyer be available? Yes, I'm going to be sending that flyer out. We're going to try and get it out in as many different ways as we can. And we're, as always, are counting on you to spread the word as well. So we would really appreciate that. So Roy, we appreciate your expertise and again, coming to this morning and then coming back again to spend more time with us. We really appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So we're sort of staying, okay, let me look at comments real quick before we go. What are the best ways for parents to keep up with the changing sites and technology? Do you have any quick hints on that, Roy?
So it's a hard thing to do. And it takes a lot of work, but it's also beneficial to you and your family. It's a different language. So with any language, you will have to study it. You'll have to, practice it every day. And it's the same thing with technology. And even the words that kids use today, even the texting words that they use, even the phrases, it's just, you have to learn it to know what it is and what it means. So we're going to take a dive into that as well, with the trends and things that are happening, but also understand with technology, it's hard to stay on a day-to-day basis just because it's old news 30 seconds ago. So you could have something that pops up for a week and then it goes away instantly, but that's kind of the changing pace that kids are, that's their normal. That's their normal. That's why, even with video games and things that they do, really as people in the time that we're in now, like there's people that go to the bathroom with their phones. They sleep with their phones. They have their phones right next to them. And that's the first thing that they do when they wake up. So that's just the world that we're getting into. And I don't want to scare everyone. I just want you to just be educated about it, but also understand that, I use technology, for work, but also to send out positive things to teens as well. So I don't want anybody thinking like, oh, Mr. Roy's just going to be like, just shut down everything and do away with all technology. Like, no, I don't want you to do that, just because our kids' worlds are going to be even more than what it is now. So when they go to college and they, find their careers, this technology is going to be old news. So I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. And someone else mentioned, yes, one of our schools had a Zoom meeting going on and it was hacked by someone, and it was very inappropriate and unacceptable. And I will tell you that Javon and I had a conversation today about, I want to make sure we know who's signing into our meeting, because we do have a list. That's why we have you register. So believe me, we're doing everything we can as a school district to make sure things like that don't happen. But I'm sure that Roy would agree, some of these hackers are very good. They're very good and they know how to break in. So, but we're hoping next year we won't maybe have as much Zoom going on with our students as we do this year. So we'll see. So thank you again, Roy. We appreciate it, and we can't wait till the 27th to hear more information. So we're moving on now, and again, we're kind of staying within this theme, and we're going to move on to human trafficking. I know it's something you've heard about, read about, maybe you've even seen some documentaries on it, but I think it's time for us to really grow in our awareness and understanding, and especially since Florida is a state that is highly impacted by human trafficking. So it is my pleasure to introduce Claire Ellis, and she is from the Zonta Club of Melbourne, and she is going to do a presentation for us today. Turning it over to you, Claire.
Thank you. And Roy, that was so excellent and so 100% true, everything. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Number 3, you see the billboard. Florida ranks 3rd in the nation with human trafficking. And we're going to see how that happens as we continue through the presentation. But it's all happening here. And it's not about so much about everybody thinking about the border right now and coming across the border. These are about our children, our families, our citizens. It's not always about what you think. Okay. Next. And this is just a little bit about Zonta, and it is estimated that human trafficking is just a minute about Zonta. I don't know why it's jumping, but we'll just go on. Okay. Human trafficking, you see the numbers there on the slide, between 17,500 people. And it's all kinds of human trafficking, and we're going to explore. It's not always just about sex trafficking. Okay, next. And this is where we get real here in Central Florida. And these are the latest statistics. When we say 2019, the 2020 don't come out until June of this year. So these are the latest stats for Florida. And we're number 3 in the country, first of all, for the number of calls to the human trafficking hotline. And it breaks down the number of calls for each particular type of trafficking: sex, labor, sex and labor, or maybe not specified. And here we have the I-495 corridor. We had 2 of the Super Bowls here in Florida the past 2 years. That brings it times 1,000. So there's always a lot of focus on Florida and what's happening with human trafficking. And we are number 3 in the US for human trafficking. Okay, next. And what is it? You can, a crime against humanity, exploitation, fraud, coercion, against their will, forced to do things against their will, domestic servitude, forced labor, and sex trafficking. They can be US citizens, they can be immigrants, any nationality, age, socioeconomic status, or gender. And the definition of human trafficking is any person under the age of 18 that's involved in a commercial sex act. That is automatically human trafficking. And so all of this kind of works together. All of it is about illegal exploitation of a human being. Okay, next. These statistics are pretty scary, but they're true, and probably even more than this. There is not only female victims, male victims, but still the majority are female victims. And we don't want to forget about the labor trafficking, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. And as this 150 billion, probably even greater, it's all about the money, all about the greed. Billions and billions of dollars in this industry. And that's why it's so prevalent. Always underage and at risk. They're not just runaways. Quote, we put in quote, good homes. A lot of this happens, parents are not realizing how, and unfortunately, many children are first sold by their parents for drugs, and it may begin there. Others through friends they meet, they know. A lot of this could be through the school system, where they meet others after school, friends, parties, things happen. So it can happen from many different angles. Okay, next. Domestic servitude, we kind of forget about that. This is human trafficking. They're hidden in plain sight. These are nannies, caregivers, housekeepers. They're locked in homes. They're living in neighborhoods all around. We had a case here in a gated community in West Melbourne. A woman was being held there, forced domestic servitude. The case that was in the news, and don't think this isn't happening right here. You'll see more cases later of actual things that are happening within our county, within our cities here. So we're not immune. We're not immune at all. And domestic servitude is one of the ways traffickers operate. They take all, if they're from another country, they take all their papers, they keep everything, they can't escape. They're treated very horribly. And you know, if you don't, in your own neighborhoods, always be aware. And in our lives today, do we all know who our neighbors are? Can you call them by name? Can you talk to them? Do you know who lives around you? Used to be everybody knew who was in their neighborhood. Do we know that now? Something we might think about and get familiar with. Okay, next slide. And sex trafficking. We saw a lot of how that happens on the internet. Certainly the biggest way happening on the internet. Also going on everywhere we might not think it is, at truck stops, things that they're threatening the children, manipulating the children, so many different places where it can be happening, and parents do need to be aware of where their children are and who they're with. These are very important things. And this is me speaking personally. This is not a stat. This is my thinking. And I will say this, you won't find it in a book. Almost 100% starts in the home. What do I mean by that? If the parents aren't selling them for drugs, there could be an older sibling, a relative, a friend, a trusted person, someone who's a friend of the family, who everybody trusts. Nobody would think that of this person, or friends that the parents may know, things that are happening all and around. It's not just something that just happens from a complete stranger. Okay, next. Forced labor. Certainly here with all the crops that are here, and also a lot of what was in the hotel labor. If you're in a major hotel, everybody's speaking all the staff is speaking one language, and there's vans bringing them at 9 in the morning and picking them up at 5 o'clock. These are big clues. Sheriff Ivey has spoken that at one time here, the greatest trafficking we had were the restaurant and hotel employees that were being brought here. And we did hotel trainings. We've been doing this Zonta for so many years. And a lot of the hotels now, instead of going to a contractor to bring them employees, are having their own job fairs and taking care of hiring their own employees. You've got the down in Immokalee, all the tomato farming with our strawberries, citrus crops. There is a lot of forced labor going on in that regard with human trafficking as well. Okay, next. Now this is very important. I don't know if you've had children come to your door. This is human trafficking. They bring them. A lot of them are coming from Orlando. A lot of times they put up signs, posters all around the schools, and they tell them they're going to earn money. They tell the parents that they're going to teach them job skills, and they're going to bring money home to help with the bills. And parents think this is all good. It is not. It is human trafficking. And they bring them over in vans, let them loose in a neighborhood. And these children are not earning a dime. At the end of the day, they're going to owe money. And if we have a protocol, if they come to your door, now they may be wearing t-shirts that say they're with a nonprofit, they're helping high school students and get over drugs and alcoholism and different things. They're always telling you they're representing now nonprofits. This is kind of advancing. And they're now in the big lot stores in Walmart. They're going from person to person in the parking lots. So always report to the manager. So what we say, if they come to your door, do not buy anything. Do not invite them into your home. They're all wearing their real name ID badges. They probably need food and drink. So tell them you're going to offer them food and snack. Please do that. And something to drink, and call the local non-emergency law enforcement. Don't call 911, call the non-emergency number, tell them what's happening. And they are aware of these things, and they will hopefully come and check it out. And probably by the time you come back, that child may be gone. And they're even doing it now, 18-year-olds and over, magazine subscriptions for scholarships. Nobody should be coming to your door selling any of these things. So be advised that this is not something you're not helping the child because of buying something. You're helping the trafficker. All right, next. This is how most get trafficked. It's survival, sex, maybe in the beginning. If they're a runaway, they're offered some food, they're offered a couch, they're offered some clothing. These kids have nothing, they're runaways. So that's how it begins. And they're recruited also, parties through friends. It's very big now, I understand, on the college campuses, recruiting the young girls for the strip clubs. And they're promising them money, and they do pay them in the beginning, and they tell them no one's going to touch them, and they perform, and then they think that the trafficker is the one protecting them, and then it'll lead from that to private parties and then to full trafficking. So that's happening also on our college campuses. So socially, and where all of this is listing all the different places, and they're not kidnapping them off the streets. These are coming from some contact on the internet, someone they meet through a friend, through someone they know. This is where the trafficking comes from. And this one, I will say, know your children's passwords. You have to sit down and have a conversation with your children, and you have to explain to them that you have to have their passwords. I can tell you here locally, a girl was rescued because the two cases, they had their passwords, they were able to call law enforcement, and the children were rescued. Okay. Next. All of this, a lot of this goes on in the hotels, and also this is where they take the photos and everything that they put online. And usually if they're running the traffic victims from the rooms, they have two rooms, and one where they're making the arrangements and the other. So the hotels, we have trained employees at the hotels, and they have put a lot of things in place to stop this, and what to look for when they come into the lobby. And a man with what looks like a couple of young girls, maybe just holding a plastic shopping bag, nervous, or they may come on even to the attendant at the desk very inappropriately, or in the bar or in the restaurant of the hotel. But this is important, and we saw this earlier. 76% of transactions with underage children start on the internet and proceed from there. And how many times a day and every day we know the horrors of what happens to the trafficked children. Okay, next slide. These are some of these things. Oh, let's go on to the next slide, please. This was something for training. Okay, you might see also a lot of these tattoos, and you see barcodes. I understand now they have barcodes that go on the arm of the victim, and they take them around and they walk them around, and other people that want to buy them know what this means, and they put their phone on this barcode, and that tells them what they'll do and for how much. So we always say, watch for these types of tattoos. They have the name of the trafficker or daddy or money symbols and different things like that. Okay. Now, a lot of this, people don't think it happens locally, and I'm just showing some of the cases. And right here, this Melbourne defense attorney, this is the latest case. And this is awful. He was a West Melbourne attorney, and he was representing a sex trafficker, and the sex trafficker was paying him with children, with girls. And so he had them living in his home in West Melbourne, and then he was selling them. And it's a horror that was happening right here. And all these other were cases that were locally and usually in the Tri-County area too, when all law enforcement works together when they're doing stings and so on. So don't think it isn't happening here. It is. And the next slide is Attorney General Moody, is just her comment on this particular predator, this attorney Gillespie, and how she was going to do everything in her power to get him put him away for good, because she has a 14-year-old daughter, and how important it is. She was just so disturbed by this whole thing. Okay, the next slide, please. Okay. Just another reminder, this is in another part of Florida, and again, a shocking billboard. Sometimes we do need that shock, and we don't think it's happening right here, but it is. Okay, next. Now this is about what we call sextortion, and we were seeing some of this when they're asking for an explicit image over the internet, and they keep asking to get a compromising image on the internet, because once they have that, and while the perpetrator is talking to the children, they're asking them a lot of personal questions if they've made contact with someone on the internet. Oh, who's in your family? Where do you go to school? Where do you live? Who are your friends? You have family that lives around you, and they obtain all this information. And then they are asking for this photo, compromising photo. And if and when they get this photo, then they can use that against the child and say, now, if you don't do what I tell you to do, we can send this photo to your family, to everybody, all your friends and your school, because they know everything about the child. And so this is something, and a lot of high school kids are doing this too. There's a lot of this with bad breakups and everything, and then someone sends a photo out and ruins the life. I always tell the kids, never put anything, it can never be called back. It can never be deleted on the internet. It's there. And someday in your future, when you're about to be inducted into something very wonderful, or near your wedding day, and all of a sudden this video appears on the internet. So nothing can be erased, and children need to understand that and not put anything ever compromising on the internet. Okay. And it is sextortion. Now, these are some things you might see. I don't know if these are still valid or they change, and maybe that's something Roy will go on about the next time he speaks. But these are just some little things that kids go back and forth, even with each other, not just necessarily a trafficker. So kind of, I don't know if you might see some of these things on the phone. This is what they mean. Or so this is kind of what they do, sexting. Okay. All right, next. Now, these are just, we can't really see these very well, but the law enforcement puts out every so often all the apps that are and platforms that are used for trafficking, and they keep increasing. It was 15, 17, 21, maybe now there's 25. And I'm so glad this one last year was taken off, Kick. And that was one of the worst, but all of these can be used in a way that will proliferate trafficking. And Fortnite, a lot of your kids are in the game Fortnite. Well, there have been 14 girls from Florida that were trafficked through Fortnite. When they're on there in these games, they talk to others, they meet others in these games. And this was a Florida man who got on there, and he was able to traffic 14 young Florida girls from this game. Okay, next. Now, this is something that you can do that would help. When you're traveling for business or with your family and you're going to a hotel, there's an app, Traffic Cam. It's a free app. You can put it on your phone, and then when you go to the hotel, when you go into your room, it'll ask you to take 4 photos. You put the name of the hotel, your room number, and don't worry, this is all going to law enforcement. Okay, this is going to law enforcement. And so they ask you to take one from the foot of the bed, from 2 other angles, and one of the bathroom, and upload it. And they use this through data points because various hotels have similar colors and prints in what's used in the room. And they have used this to rescue many, many children. So law enforcement wants to have eventually these photos of every room in every hotel in this country. And so you are helping by doing this, because a lot of this happens in the hotel. This is where they do take the photos to put out on the internet, also where a lot of the actual trafficking takes place. So this is something you can do to help and tell other people about this, and just do it. Always do it. Just upload 4 photos of your hotel room when we get back to traveling again. Okay, next. Now, we talk about trafficking, but there's another whole side of it. Okay, and this is about the products made by forced labor of children, or products where forced labor by children are used. And we couldn't have the chocolate festival this year, but to tell people about chocolate, one of the worst. But I'm going to tell you right now, these symbols that you're seeing, Fair Trade, UTZ, and the Green Frog, the Rainforest Alliance, look for chocolate, coffee, other items that have these symbols on them. And I'll just say, don't buy Hershey. This will help these children are enslaved making these products, and you're going to receive some information that has some websites after this. And if you go to the U.S. Department of International Labor, just get on the computer, and you're going to go there and you're going to see two lists. One list is the products and the countries that they know 100% are produced by forced child labor. Okay, then you're going to see another list of countries and products, and they're going to say, we believe these might be, we don't know for sure, but we're just letting you know. Go see these lists. Don't buy these products. Look for these labels. And it's all also about this type of human trafficking, and also seafood. Seafood is huge. You need to really delve into that and see where the seafood is coming from. Okay. And these, you'll get these numbers and all of this, some of the statistics that I talked about will be forthcoming in an email. We have what we call a RAC card, a two-sided RAC card that we give out when we speak that has a lot of this information with it. Okay.
Well, Miss Ellis, you have impacted us today. I have to be honest with you. There's so much I didn't know. And we've had comments in the chat box where our parents are saying, you know, this is really emotional and hard to hear. And I know it is. And I want you to know that we're not trying to shock. We're trying to inform. And I learned a lot today. And I think you broke my heart about Hershey, but I'm going to definitely go on that list, and I'm going to get myself informed. But most importantly, I want you to know why we're doing this today. We're feeling like your children are most likely safe, right? We really do, because you're here today, you're listening, you're engaged. However, your children have friends. You live in a community where there are other children. Now our eyes need to be opened, and we need to look a little closer, perhaps at what's going on in our community. And I know I learned a lot about those young people who come to my door. It always breaks my heart, but I know now what I can do. I can actually do something kind for them. So anyway, so I thank you so much, Mrs. Ellis. And and again, other people are thanking you as well for this great information. Thank you. And we will be sharing this PowerPoint. Whew. Okay, now I want everyone to take a deep breath, because we're going to shift gears a little bit. And Janine, we're kind of counting on you, girl, to kind of lift us back up a little bit and move us forward. But again, that information that was shared by Roy and Claire, very powerful, and we thank you. And now I'd like to turn over to Janine Knight. She is with our Student Services Department, and she is kind of one of those people that's a gift to our organization. Whenever I have questions, things I'm trying to figure out, I call Janine. So take it away, Janine.
Well, that was quite the introduction. Hey, you didn't put the pretty things around mine. All right.
Well, we talked about it, but Javon felt that your presentation stood on its own.
Oh, okay. So both those presentations, phenomenal. And the information is so, so very important. I can't even begin to talk about that, how important it is. But our kids gravitate to this type of topics, of this type of lifestyle, of this type of negativity, because they themselves feel something is missing. And so what I'm going to talk about is something that started in our county in 2015, and it's an initiative. It's not a program. It's an initiative to help all of our students understand that no matter what is happening to them, that they have a source of strength in their life. And that source of strength will get them through the times that are difficult, that could be the times that they're most vulnerable for the topics we just heard. And so it's meant to build up our students. So the vision, the statement is here, and the vision is the vision of Sources of Strength, which is a national and international initiative, is that, and I think we all could agree with this, that we believe that many strengths are more powerful than one. And our united goal is to activate and mobilize these strengths in ways that positively change individuals and communities. So Sources of Strength started in 2015 in our high schools. So Javon, you can go to the next slide because I want to see some color. So what is it? All right. It's an initiative, a movement is what I like to call it, to get our kids to understand that it's okay to struggle, but what they really need to focus on are the strengths they have in their lives. And we all have sources of strength. And so this wheel that was created by the founder of Sources of Strength, Mark Murray, out of North Dakota. He lives in an area where there are a lot of Native American families and communities. And he is a social worker, and he was attached to the police department, and he was starting to see kids just struggling. And he decided to create Sources of Strength by using this wheel of strengths. So let's really quick look at the wheel and the topics that are on that wheel. And I don't think there's anyone on this Zoom that wouldn't agree that we all have these topics in our life in some fashion and form, but they all look different. So we all have a family support. It may not look the same as the person next to us, but we have something in that category. Positive friends. When I do this with the students, I always say first to the students, how many of you have had a negative friend? And everybody can raise their hand, right? You know that negative friend. But it's the positive ones we want to gravitate to: mentors, healthy activities, generosity, spirituality. And that doesn't mean anything more than just believing in something bigger than yourself. It could be the natural environment. It could be something more organized, but something bigger than you. Physical health and mental health. And so really quickly, I just want folks to type into the chat box right at this moment, which one of those would you say right now is your source of strength? Just type the one word in: family support, positive friends, mentors, whatever it is for you. Just type it into the chat box. Oh, good. People are typing in. That always makes me feel so happy that people have heard. And oh boy, family support, spirituality, family support, generosity, positive friends, family support. Yes, yes. Keep them coming. A little of everything. Awesome. That is fantastic. Healthy activities. Yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. So here's what we all have to go to are these strengths. And sometimes our kids, someone said that Ginny, Janine, and Javon are her positive friends. Well, that was just the highlight of my morning. And so this is a way to help our kids see that we go through struggles. That's life. It's just there. It's whatever it is, right? But if we really focus on the things we have in our life, then we can build on those. And so sometimes in a young person's life, this wheel, they may only have one strength, but they can rely on that. Or they may have 2 or 3 and they can rely on those. None of us have all of them at the same level all the time. We just don't. And that's okay. That's okay. So what we do is we take this wheel and we take this foundation of understanding, this initiative, and we bring it into the schools and say, now, you young people who are living a totally different world than we all have lived, absolutely. Just by those 2 presentations alone, we can all understand that. They live totally different lives. I just know that if there had been any type of cell phones and video remotely available when I was a teenager, I can't even imagine what would be out there right now about me. But that's what they live with. So we bring this in and we say to a group of students that we train as what we call peer leaders, we say, how can you put this positive messaging out to your peers? Because they know each other the best. That's who they listen to. And so we need them to do the work. And oh my gosh, aren't kids just the best ever? Because let me tell you what they come up with. So many different things. Click to the next slide. I'm just going to show you a couple of pictures from some of the high schools that we have sources of strength in. This is some of the times that we've done the initiatives. And this is how many kids get involved at a school. Palm Bay High, I had 98 kids one day, all day, for positive messaging and to learn to be a peer leader. I've had anywhere from 30 to like 98, like I said. And they come up with unbelievable things. I don't know if you can see the sign that says sources of strength, but it says, you are meant for success. They handed out little mints with that on it to every kid at that high school just before testing. How cool is that, right? And they came up with it. Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, that might be kind of corny, like, really? But from me, it would have been, but not from the others. And so I want to show a quick video. This is just one of many. This is Viera High School and something that they did to a video they did that they put out through their school in relationship to sources of strength. Hopefully it plays.
We are sources of strength.
We are a group of diverse students and adults from many different corners and cultures of our school and community.
We believe that life has ups and downs, that all of us will go through good times and tough times.
Our mission is to ensure that during the rough times, no one gets so overwhelmed or hopeless that they want to give up. Our mission is to spread hope, help, strength into every corner of our community.
Our mission is to help students and staff turn to their strengths and their supports that are all around.
We are connectors to help and strength.
Our mission recognizes that our voices have great power and we use it to break the silence. When someone is struggling and we connect to them, we help them and we give them the needs that they deserve. We spread hope by focusing on stories of strength rather than stories of trauma.
We know our most powerful impact comes from our personal actions, conversations, and messages that use our music, our art, writing, our activities, social media, culture, and especially our voice.
And this gives life to our efforts.
Family support. Positive friends. Spirituality.
Healthy activities.
Generosity.
Mentors. Mental health.
Medical access. sources of strength.
Now you can clearly see that was done prior to our masking up time. 2018 was when that was done, and that's just one example. Now, have I and a bunch of adults had walked through the school with those pie pieces and done that, we would have just never made it the rest of the day, right? But the students do it. And oh my gosh, and I have to tell you really quick, I know I am over my minute, but we are so excited because we have it in all of our high schools at different levels right now because of COVID. It took us some time to get in some different things last year. But anyhow, we have a grant for that. And then we just got a grant from the Sheriff's Department. It will now go into all of our middle schools. I am so excited for that because middle school is tough. Oh boy, that is a tough time, you know. And then we, the Brevard Federations of Teachers wrote a grant, and we're going to get to bring it down to a few elementary schools to start. Sources of Strength didn't have an elementary school program or initiative until 2017. And so we were already looking into that. And so we're so excited, and Sources of Strength is excited for us because they like to do and look at us in Brevard County. We're the only county in the entire country that has all of their high schools as Sources of Strength schools. We will have all our middle schools and then into our elementary schools. So we are so, so excited. And really quickly, the University of Florida for freshmen coming in have a ninth freshman class of Sources of Strength. And so it spreads out, and it's really meant to be in the community as well. So the students do community service type things related to Sources of Strength and all of those. And I'm telling you, Ginny put me on for 15 minutes and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm talking about Sources of Strength. I got to have the hour. Like, we don't want to hear from these other people. Just kidding, other people. No, we need to hear from them because those are the things our kids are facing. But if we can build this and we can support this, then we can give them the strength and they can understand their strength. And then these things might not happen for them. Thank you, thank you, thank you all so much. I was so excited to get to present. Thank you. I love all your comments, everything, and my information is out there if you have any questions or as a parent want to get involved. We've had parents come and participate in things as well.
Janine, thank you so much. You always are our light, and we appreciate you. And yes, it is a great program for students. And I love what you just said. Parents, we need you. I mean, we're hoping next year is going to look different, and we're going to need your support. So please, please consider reaching out to your school's Sources of Strength lead at your school. And so now we're going to turn it over to Javon, and she's going to share some great news about our parent survey.
Hi guys, thanks for sticking with us. So again, we're trying to end on a positive note and show you all the hard work has paid off that you all have done with your families and out in the community for us this year. Parent survey, Jenny and I were nervous because it's crazy times. You know, how can we ensure that every family in our school district has that opportunity to provide us with feedback in this year? And you guys came through. So we thank you. We thank all of your friends that have done it because we had a record-breaking number of surveys completed, 22,701. And I'll tell you, we typically only get about 16,000. So this is significant. This is a huge increase. We couldn't be more excited. And as you can imagine, trying to analyze 22,000 surveys is taking a little bit longer than we're used to, but those results will be shared. They're going to go out to schools, and then we'll share some district-wide survey trends on our family engagement page. So just stay tuned as we crunch those numbers. But just particularly look at the numbers that we had by grade level. So in elementary, there always are rock stars that we always, every year, get the most there. So over 13,000. And then middle school drops off every year, under 3,000, but then it picks up again in the high school and we have over 6,000. So for those of you middle school parents or friends with other families that have middle schoolers, please let them know that their voice is just as important. They see just as many, challenges and successes in our middle schools that we need to be aware of as well too. So again, thank you so much for helping promote that with us. And Jenny and I wanted to just talk to you about thinking about next year. And so much is still up in the air, so much is still uncertain, but just like any other year, we want to give you some tools to help set your child up for success in that next year's grade level, no matter what grade level that they're transitioning into, even into the workforce, as we learned that terminology today, Jenny. So here's some things to think about and have these conversations with your child's current teachers this year. But before we do that, we want to give an award to your child's most important teacher, and that's you. You guys get the Pandemic COVID-19 Teacher of the Year Award for jumping in and stopping everything that you were doing to be there and be present with your child in their education, communicating more than ever with your child's teachers in their schools, and really seeing the impact of education, the impact of your awareness and your involvement, and how whatever shape or form that took, it paid off, and our kids are better for it. So one thing to come out of this is, I think, a better awareness of our families of what our children are expected to do at each grade level, and more awareness of where your child is performing. So we have grades on report cards, but what does that translate to? Like, are they still struggling in math? Are they doing better in certain areas? And you're seeing that based on you being there, watching their learning, whether they're strictly e-learning or whether they're, brick and mortar. You're still more aware than ever of their assignments and the expectations in their classrooms. So thinking ahead, here's some questions. Here's some questions that you probably have, and we encourage you to reach out to their teacher so you can come up and share some information that's going to help that transition to next year be one that's even more smooth. So if you don't know this already, start thinking, what subject does my child excel in or enjoy the most? So what brings them joy in their school day as they're looking forward to secondary? What electives are they looking at taking? They need to have some type of exploring their passions, finding what it gives them value, what brings them to school every day. If they don't enjoy school, maybe that's the one class, that elective class, that keeps them coming back for more, and it leads to a future path that they hadn't even considered. So have those conversations with your teachers, your child's teachers. The second one is, what subject area challenges or frustrates my child the most? And again, this is an awareness for you, so you're ready next year as they tackle maybe a higher math or a more rigorous writing curriculum. You already know some of these pitfalls, so you can communicate that with the next year's teacher of look-fors, or go ahead and start out the year asking for some tips and tricks so you can support at home to make their typical not favorite subject a little bit more successful. Then we have the third one. What specific skill does my child need to work on for the next school year? This is huge. Now, we just gave you the Teacher of the Year award, but realistically, no one expects you to be teaching your child over the summer, preparing them for the next grade level. But again, having that awareness, there are easy ways that you can incorporate maybe some of those skills into what you do during the summer. Maybe you're checking out certain types of books. Maybe you're visiting certain places in your community. Maybe you're incorporating math facts in your grocery store routines, whatever that might be. But again, awareness is huge. It empowers you and allows you to advocate for your child next year a little bit better. And then finally, this is huge. Are there any special programs offered by the school, or maybe ones that they know of in the community, that would benefit your child this year? And we know that some families and some students are completely burnt out, and they might not be looking for something academic. Maybe that's something that you feel that your child just needs a break, and that's okay. But maybe it's something they've have a new interest in, and that's something that you could help build upon positively this summer for exposure, or making connections with people that they could reach out to in the future. So again, this is not an exhaustive list, but just a few things for you guys to think about as you're transitioning, as you're trying to wrap up a crazy year and start the next year off ready to go.
Great advice, Javon. We love these little pointers, and sometimes we don't know what to ask. So this really helps guide that. We are, as always, very, very pleased and honored to have our superintendent on our call, and especially for our last meeting of the year. And I just want to acknowledge you, Dr. Mullins, in that this has been the hardest year for so many people for so many reasons, but to be a leader through this, I can't begin to imagine the burden you've carried. So we just want to say that we appreciate you too. So we're going to turn it over to Dr. Mullins.
Well, thank you, Jenny. That's very kind. Let me do a sound check. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Jenny, thank you for those kind words, and there have been wonderful sentiments of appreciation, and I just, every time it comes to me, I say the only way we have been able to do as Brevard Public Schools, as our community's public education system, is virtue of the people who are on this call today and the extended representations of them, first with our teachers and our school leaders, who are given an unenviable task in a short amount of time to figure a very different and new way of providing education. And then our parents coming alongside us and being not only their child's first educator, but also their educational partner in this, in ways that were just accelerated and emphasized this year, and so on. So our thanks to our parents and our community, and really coming alongside us, and in some cases holding our educators up, and another when they were faltering, and so on, and we understand why, and then in other instances really elevating them for the great work that they've done. So, but with that, I am appreciate the opportunity to come spend a few minutes with you and kind of close out the session. I want to commend you for remaining engaged and participating in our parent leadership team. Give me a second. I want to expand my viewing screen here so I can see even more of our folks online. I got to change it. There we go. Gallery view. Just thank you for continuing to be engaged and connected with your public school system, with your local school. That's what this is about, and just supporting them through this. We're working through, everyone wants to know, what does next year look like? And we are working through those details, those challenges. We're optimistic. That's probably the best word for where we are right now. We are so optimistic. It hurts, it pains my heart, literally, with the realization that 13 months ago, we closed our doors, we almost turned out the lights, served our kids virtually, and our parents who we love and need and welcome into our schools have never gotten past the front office in the last 13 months. It truly, truly pains me that has been our reality. And we are so optimistic that as we prepare for the school year 21-22, that we're going to be able to restore some enhanced engagement things, to include opening our campus